Hello, all you kings, queens, and those in between, and welcome to episode 2 of the Busted Limes podcast. I'm your host, Paresh Maharaj, and I actually have a couple of announcements to make. First, I know that in my first intro I made it a point to mention that my co-host cousin couldn't make it for the intro, but we've decided that going forward I should just do all of the intros solo for every episode, since then I'll be able to more accurately summarize what we talk about. Secondly, this episode is actually a re-record. Yeah, I know. See, what had happened was on our first run-through, we recorded around 84 minutes before realizing that my mic wasn't picking me up. My other podcasting friends say that this is a common mistake, and I'm just gonna go ahead and believe them, otherwise my ego will never mend. Anyway, enough moping. This episode, we're talking about AEW, All Elite Wrestling, the promotion formed by a disgruntled former WWE superstar who set out with the explicit goal of being a competitor to WWE. As of this recording, AEW has been airing on Wednesdays on TNT to strong viewership for a little over a year now, so we decided that this was an appropriate time to give our thoughts on it. For this episode, we start off broad by just generally listing things that we like, things that we don't like, even people that we like and people that we don't like, and then we shift our focus to talk about specific moments that we liked and disliked, and then finally we end on speculating for what we want to see in the future and how the future looks for the entire product as a whole. Also, as a heads up, we will be casually dropping wrestling lingo throughout the episode that will go undefined, because we actually tried defining them on our first recording and it just destroyed the flow of the episode to constantly stop and say, for those who don't know, over and over and over again. So, lace up your boots, wet your hair, and take your position at Gorilla, and enjoy the show. Alright, take two, dear God.
Fuck! Okay, cool. Right. Trying this again.
Uh-huh. Alright, so it's just a little bit of growing pains. We're a new podcast.
Speaking of growing pains, AEW.
AEW!
Yes.
We are about a year in from AEW now, and what do you think? What are you thinking so far?
I mean, it's fucking amazing. Yeah, there's a reason we're still watching it a year in.
Exactly, yep. Yeah.
You know, one thing I give AEW credit for at this point is that they have not made it easy for themselves at all. Like, any other wrestling promotion, be it WWE, New Japan, or even like Ring of Honor or Impact, like they're like bare minimum, they just have to be entertaining in order to get by. But AEW has the added burden of they don't just have to be entertaining, they have to actually, everybody expects them to be better than WWE. That's the bar they set for themselves. It's not just the fans that wanted an alternative to WWE. Like, AEW very explicitly is presenting themselves as the alternative to WWE. And that is those are high standards they've set for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. But honestly, I think they've met those standards because, let's just start out by talking about how we became the way we are, disgruntled former WWE fans. Because I think we both fell off for the same reason, right?
I think we fell off at the exact same moment.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no. So, yeah. Anybody who's familiar with the current WWE product, or at least what the WWE product has been for the last 5 years or so, knows that 99% of what's going on right now just involves Brock Lesnar holding on to the title and eventually building up someone to hopefully take it away from him. So the two of us, our last straw was last year's Money in the Bank pay-per-view, when it looked like Mustafa Ali was this close to winning the briefcase, but then Brock Lesnar, who wasn't even in the match, ran out, knocked him off the ladder, and then took the briefcase and won.
Yep. What wasn't even in the match, and that was really what burned my ass. I feel like if he was at least in the match, it wouldn't have been as bad.
I mean, it would have been bad, but it wouldn't have felt like as much of a slap in the face. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Especially since it was Mustafa Ali himself who took the fall.
Exactly.
Because
we would have been mad if it was anybody else in the match, but I mean, the highest of highs of seeing him get that close, and then just the lowest of lows, seeing him just be the fucking butt monkey for Brock Lesnar, like him of all people,
in such a short amount of time too.
Yeah.
Good lord. Yeah.
It's just, and
since they.
Yeah, we both had issues with WWE running up until that point, but it's, none of those issues, like, we were still very much wading through all of the bad because the good made it worth it. But I think in that moment, it just kind of made it realize, like, this is never going to get better than what it is right now.
Yep, and they just don't care.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing with AEW is even when they're unpredictable, it never feels like they're insulting your intelligence. Like, the difference between WWE and AEW's brand of unpredictability is WWE unpredictability is building up a conclusion to something that makes sense and foreshadowing it heavily, and then at the last minute going away with something completely different that makes no fucking sense, all just to be like, haha, you fans thought you knew it was going to happen, but then we did something different to fool you because you don't know what's happening. With AEW, it's more unpredictability in a sense of we never know what's going to happen, but that's a good thing because it's exciting and interesting and it keeps us on our toes.
Exactly.
Like last night is a perfect example of doing unpredictability well in AEW.
Oh yeah,
Like,
precisely. We had the Exalted One reveal. Everyone thought it was going to be Matt Hardy.
Yeah, like, and AEW had been teasing for a long time that Matt Hardy was going to come to AEW, but then the Exalted One turned out to be Brody Lee, formerly known as Luke Harper. And then everybody thought, okay, well, that's the Exalted One reveal. And then Matt Hardy ended up showing up at the end of the night to team with the Elite anyway.
And can we just talk about how amazing that reveal was?
Oh yeah, that was amazing. Like, even without an audience.
Right. Like, you could just hear the pop in your head,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
right.
The reason that works
what's the name he gave his drone again?
Vanguard 1.
Vanguard 1. Yeah, because it started off with Vanguard 1, and then it took a moment to sink in what they were doing, and then you see Matt Hardy there at the top of the arena.
Yeah.
God, awesome stuff. Anyway, what were you saying before I so rudely cut you off?
Yeah. Gosh, dude. Yeah, so I think the reason why that's good unpredictability is, like, it didn't insult our intelligence. Like, Brody Lee being the Exalted One, that's not what we were expecting, but it's still cool. Like, it's still interesting to see where they go with that. And then, of course, it's not like, oh, haha, you fools, we're never going to show Matt Hardy anyway. It was just misdirection for when Matt Hardy actually showed up later in the night. Like, compare that to WWE, where, like, unpredictability there is, like, when you build
The Undertaker coming into a battle royal and just beating AJ Styles with his weakest finishing move, the choke slam.
Oh yeah, like in that fucking gauntlet match in Saudi Arabia. Or like Brock Lesnar entering the Royal Rumble at number 1 and then eliminating like 15 people in a row.
I'm still kind of mixed on that, actually, because then you just knew that whoever eliminated him would be the one getting the push, and it turned out to be Drew McIntyre, who have been...
Here's the thing, that was actually something that could have been done well, but the problem with that was Brock Lesnar was WWE champion at the time, and a lot of the people that he eliminated were, like, very big fan favorites and people would want to win. Like, he eliminated frickin' John Morrison and Kofi Kingston and Rey Mysterio and Big E. Like, Yeah. I mean, like, you could have had him eliminate, like, jobbers or, like, mid-carders or, like, other heels. Like, it got to a point where people were into it at first, and then it just got tiring. Yeah. And then it's like you said, you knew whoever eliminated him was going to win. Yeah. Yeah, compare it to, like, AEW with, like, the recent title matches. Like, I would say all of the recent title changes have been pretty shocking. Like, even with Moxley versus Jericho, going into that match, I had no idea who was going to win, because you could have argued it either way who would have made sense to win.
Exactly. And even before that, you could have argued that Moxley was going to join the Inner Circle or that he wasn't going to join the Inner Circle, because either way, I could see them pulling a quality story out of it.
Exactly, yeah.
It
all just came down to whether you thought they were ready to pull the trigger on Moxley as the top star.
Exactly, which I feel like they made the right... Well, honestly, that's the thing. Either decision would have been the right decision.
Yeah.
Because, one, if you let him win, he's the most over that he will probably ever be right now, so it's best to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, but if he loses, you literally, like, stack every card in the book against him. That saying doesn't make sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? They stack the odds against him completely, so you could justify him losing as saying, well, it was unfair, and then when he wins, it's, him getting payback.
Right, exactly. But even if he lost, it would have still been like, oh, well, yeah, he had all the odds stacked against him.
Exactly.
It's been too early. It's too soon for Jericho to lose it, all that.
I mean, I saw people after that match saying they felt like it was too early for Jericho to lose it.
And honestly, I could kind of see where they're coming from, but at the same time, strike the Moxley iron while it's hot, you know?
Yeah, exactly. When you have a guy who is arguably right now the most over man in professional wrestling, you don't not put the belt on him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and one more thing that AEW is eating WWE's lunch in is, well, besides the ratings, is long-term storytelling. This really didn't sink in for me until yesterday, where they flash back to all the times that the Lucha Bros and the Best Friends were at each other's throats, and it's like, wait, that's true. They have been.
Yeah, this has literally been building like as long as AEW's been around. Yeah,
right, really.
And it's funny you bring up the ratings, because like kind of the ridiculous thing about this air quotes Wednesday Night Wars thing is that like the competition is just between NXT and Dynamite. Like Raw and SmackDown are both like still in the billions of viewers, and like even though most people agree that the quality of both of those shows is way less than NXT or AEW, it's still like kind of the fact is AEW is competing with the WWE's third brand. And that's not a knock against AEW, but I think that just goes to show that, you know, being the direct competition for WWE doesn't mean putting WWE out of business or just eclipsing them completely. It's just having a consistently good, appealing product that people can go to if they get tired of WWE. It's like Burger King versus McDonald's. Burger King is never going to put McDonald's out of business. It's a fucking juggernaut in the food industry. But at the end of the day, if you don't like McDonald's, Burger King is there. And if you go to Burger King, you know what you're going to get. And if you were considering getting McDonald's, Burger King probably wouldn't disappoint you.
I think there are some people who would say that it's an insult to McDonald's to compare them to WWE, but, you know, that's neither here nor there.
I mean, we can dive into the implications of comparing pro wrestling to fast food in another time. My point is that AEW, like at the end of the day, they just need to be better than NXT by a margin that makes them look like a viable alternative. And so far, I think they have been.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know we started off this podcast as kind of like a negative light with growing pains, but we do, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. And I mean, I think now that we've kind of solidified that, yes, we are fully on board with AEW, maybe now we can talk about the growing pains a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be fair, these are things that we've been talking about for the entirety of the past year. And like we said, growing pains, I think a lot of these things that we're going to talk about have been addressed to some extent by now, but it's still worth discussing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think it's important to point out that AEW didn't necessarily hit the ground running with all of its cylinders firing. You know, it's a new promotion and, you know, it's being run. Part of the thing is it's not being run by necessarily veterans of running wrestling promotions. All the people running it are, you know, wrestlers. So they're going at a very different angle than other promoters. So like one big thing I feel like is, and this is one of the ones that I think
besides the sound, no more sound issues.
Oh yeah, no. But yeah, one of the growing pains I think is the most excusable because it's the one I think they've shown the most growth in is the pacing of their cards. Like, I think one issue they had for the longest time, and they still deal with this every now and then, is front-loading a lot of their weekly shows. Like, especially you saw this earlier on, they would open with the tag match that absolutely burns the fucking house down, which is hard not to do with the tag division they have. And then it's like the rest of the show is just like promos and other matches that just kind of don't live up to the opening match, which is just not a great way to build a show.
Exactly, yeah. I remember there was one week where they... the opening match was like Kenny and Hangman versus the Lucha Bros. And that was the opening match. Like, which...
Yeah, and it's like... And then your main event is like a freaking like promo or something, which like I'm sure it wasn't a bad segment or whatever, but it's like, that's not going to live... If the end of the show still doesn't live up to the opening, that's an issue you need to address. Yeah, and I think the most recent egregious example of this was at Revolution with the tag team title match, Hangman and Kenny versus the Young Bucks.
Oh my god. You mean the greatest match in recent memory?
Yeah, arguably a match of the year contender, but it was in the middle of the fucking card, and it completely burnt the crowd out. So like literally the next 3 matches after that were dealing with a dead crowd. It took fucking Orange Cassidy to bring them back. Well, because what happened there... Yeah, well, because also the thing is they opened the show with Dustin versus Jake Hager, and the thing with that is, even though the crowd was off for that match because they were just excited that the pay-per-view was starting and Dustin's very popular, Jake Hager fucking sucks. He is so goddamn boring.
So boring. Oh my god.
Yeah, And like that whole match was so weird with like the added angle of his wife being involved for some
Yeah,
reason,
which
and that's
came out
never
of
been brought up
nowhere. There was
again.
absolutely
Yeah.
no build up to that, which is odd for AEW.
And it's like, yes, a bootless man for aggressively making out with his wife in the front row. I mean, like, he'd already gotten enough heat just from allying with Jericho and breaking Dustin's arm and just, kind of existing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but also, yeah, so that was just weird. And then, like, you immediately follow that up with Darby versus Sammy Guevara, which was an amazing match and probably should have been the opener because that was a great
Mm-hmm.
fucking match. It got everybody excited.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Like, yeah, Hager versus Dustin should have been in the dead match spot instead of the fucking women's title match. And then freaking Cody versus MJF.
Well, yeah, what did you think of that match?
I mean, I thought it was a good match for what it was. But again, it's hard to judge it because everybody was burned out from the tag title match. You
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah. I mean, there were certain other distracting aspects of that match, which we'll get into later. But
But
yeah, and then other growing pains. I think you have to talk about the women's division in
yeah,
AEW.
you got to talk about the
Yeah,
women's division.
and
Yep.
I'll disclaimer because I know people get mad when you talk about things like this. So just a disclaimer: we
Mm-hmm.
both fucking love women's wrestling.
Hell yeah.
In general, like as wrestling fans, you want to see all aspects of wrestling at their best, and that includes women's wrestling. You want to see the
Mm-hmm.
women on the same level as the world championship and the tag division, and wrestling at its best is when all of those things are equal. And I think that some of AEW's best matches have been women's matches. Like both of the Rio versus Nyla matches for the women's title were phenomenal.
Such good matches. Like, my God,
Right.
you will believe that a 98-pound woman could beat, well, Nyla.
Yeah, exactly. And like the thing is with AEW, the one thing that's working against them in their women's division as opposed to WWE, the one area WWE has an advantage is that, AEW being a new promotion, so the vast majority of their women's roster is newer talent. Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
big stars like Nyla Rose and Britt Baker have been wrestling for less than 6 years. So, and
Oh my
a lot
God.
of times, like with wrestlers like Britt and Chris Statlander, it shows when they're wrestling in the ring, they're still new and they're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. These are all phenomenal athletes, but they all have a lot of room for improvement. And the one thing WWE has an advantage with is they have their performance center. They literally have their own wrestling school to train up their roster and get them TV ready. AEW doesn't have it. Like Kenny even said in an interview, like he feels their biggest weakness with the women's division is the only way you can like get them more experience is to have them wrestle.
Right, and he's right. He's
Yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah. But the problem is like it's hard to make sure that everybody's getting the same amount of experience to train. And like I don't know all what's going on backstage with AEW, so I don't know what necessarily they're doing to address this other than just having women
Right.
wrestle more. But
Mm-hmm.
like that's they're playing catch up at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
they are.
yeah,
But I think they are catching up now, especially that
yeah.
fatal four-way that we had last
Oh,
night.
100%.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Like, yeah.
Honestly, I think that was my favorite match of the night.
Well, I mean, that was probably the best match of the night. Like, I do think it was better than the tag match that opened the show.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this is not a knock against any of the women on the roster. Nyla Rose is a fucking monster
A
who
beast.
absolutely should be at the top of the division right now. Like, Hikaru
Yeah.
Shida, Rio are like two of my probably favorite women's wrestlers right now. Britt Baker is absolutely killing it with whatever the hell she's doing right now.
Right.
Like, yeah,
Just
I
being a
mean,
dick to Tony Schiavone.
exactly. Like, it's just they have a good thing going. These aren't just criticisms like, oh wow, this sucks. These are growing pains. Like they have room to grow. You just have to hope that they do and have confidence that they will.
Which, yeah, again, we've established that we do have confidence that they will.
Right, and that's the thing with AEW. Yeah, going back to what I said earlier about like them having much higher standards to meet. I think the thing is so many fans are so quick to criticize them whenever they do something that they perceive as not being better than WWE. And the thing is, if you want AEW to be that viable alternative to WWE, you have to be willing to give them a chance to grow into that. You can't expect them to be that from day one. They've been around for
Exactly.
just over a year now. You have to give them time, and they do have time to grow into a healthy, thriving promotion.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to
Exactly.
be willing. Like if they have issues, you have to be willing to let the thing that you want happen. You have to be willing to give it time to grow into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I do think that AEW is growing into it, and I think a
Yeah.
big part of that is that they're allowing their talent to just organically get over.
Oh,
Because
absolutely. Like, I think a huge example of that is like Jericho's theme song. Like, with the crowd sing alongs and the way they've leaned into that. Like, literally, they will let his music play up until the chorus and then cut his music so that it's just the crowd singing along. If this is something that had happened in WWE, WWE would have gone out of their way to stop the crowd from singing along. They would have changed his music or edited it differently or had Jericho cut a promo telling the crowd not to sing along with his theme song or done anything like that to get them to stop because they wouldn't have wanted it to happen because they didn't come up with it.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
and hell, try telling any new AEW fan these days that Darby Allin didn't always have a skateboard.
Oh yeah, no. Skateboarding is just Darby Allin's thing in real life, and they just made that a part of his character. They allowed him to let his character evolve in a way that was cool and made sense and was just cool to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with the way he's been using the the skateboard has become such an integral part of his character too. It's basically iconic at this point, is because
Exactly.
on one side it's the one that he got his throat crushed with, and
Yeah.
on the other now he has the thing where he menacingly writes his opponent's names on the skateboard, and then he ollies off of them.
Okay, the body bag stuff is just so fucking cool to watch as well.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
It's like he could be the new Undertaker.
Right? I mean, just in terms of just...
and I don't say
I mean,
that
you
like
were the...
ironically.
Yeah, I mean, you were there live when like he made his return from like the scripted injury. You heard how fucking loud that pop was.
Oh my god, did it come through on TV like how loud it was, or?
I mean, it was the biggest pop of the night,
Nah.
clearly.
Oh yeah.
Like I think the reaction to that was bigger than the reaction to Cody's moonsault.
which is saying something.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about specific moments now, were there any moments that you really enjoyed so far with your how long we've been watching AEW?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, if we're gonna talk about something that I didn't even enjoy, but I'm just fucking jealous of, is the fucking Cody's moonsault on the steel cage. I'm just jealous that you got to see that in person, like from the fucking floor.
He didn't even look back before he did the
moonsault. Out to
moonsault.
me, he didn't look behind him before he did that moonsault. He just intrinsically trusted Wardlow to catch him. The other thing with that match is that Wardlow like actually showed himself to be a good wrestler.
Right, yeah.
I thought up until that point he was just like big dumb muscle like Jake Hager, but the man was fucking pulling swatons off the top rope, and like he wasn't just hitting Cody against the cage, he was hitting Cody with the cage. He was grabbing the cage and pulling it towards Cody. It was so good. Like obviously I have to boo him because he's associated with MJF, but like I'm a Wardlow fan now, honestly, because of that one match.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think he's actually facing Luchasaurus next week in a lumberjack match. Oh my god.
Yeah, that match is going to be fucking fire.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I wonder if a lumberjack match technically breaks the rules of social distancing, though. That might be something to look into.
Shit, you're right. Lumberjack matches and social distancing. They did have faces and heels in the crowd.
Honestly, they need to do a little bit where like they're having people coming up for a lumberjack match, but then they just stop like the last few people. Like, no, we just hit like the maximum for social gatherings. You guys need to go back.
Oh my god! Remember last night when the best friends went for their hug?
Yeah, I was hoping they were going to do something like that, and that was brilliant. Yeah.
Oh my god! I think the first moment that actually my first like jaw-dropping moment was it was actually just a regular singles match, but it was when Pac made Kenny pass out on his debut match. Oh my god,
that was insane! Talk about like putting somebody over. Like WWE has their shit going where John Cena's never tapped out. He has. But like you have freaking Kenny Omega, like arguably your biggest star, just fucking pass out, like it gets fucking slept in the middle of the ring by Pac. Like that puts him over huge.
Like immediately. Because oh my god, Kenny Omega is like one of the would you say he's one of the basically the founding members of AEW?
I mean, he literally is. Like, it's the elite. So it's Cody, Kenny, the Bucks, and Hangman, basically. And then Tony Khan. Like, I mean, he's also literally, like, one of the executive members, like, executive leadership.
Right.
Yeah.
And Now I'm just thinking of all the former WWE superstars who've now migrated over to AEW, and how they're already being treated better by AEW. Like,
Yeah, like freaking Sean Spears.
yeah, like, but
Yeah.
let's starting with Pac, because this was after WWE literally removed his WrestleMania match from the DVD, and now look where he is now. But yeah, Sean Spears, he went from doing literally nothing in WWE to
For
being one of the
15
most.
goddamn years.
How many years?
15. He was in WWE development for 15 years before he debuted on NXT.
Oh my god.
Actually, no, including the time he spent in NXT, like when he debuted on the main roster, he had been with WWE for 15 years.
Good lord. You wouldn't
Yeah.
think that from the way he was treated in WWE.
Right?
Oh my lord. And now he's the chairman.
Yeah.
Yeah, eating chicken on the sidelines with MJF and betting on matches.
Yeah. That's the thing. AEW's handled this whole, no audiences thing so much better than WWE has.
Yeah, I only saw a couple clips of the WWE no audience thing. Like,
Monday Night Raw, like they didn't even like acknowledge coronavirus. Like they just literally referred to it as the most unique edition of Monday Night Raw in history. That
oh,
was their way of framing the fact that they were doing it in the Performance Center with no audience.
weak.
Yeah,
Compare that to Cody's opening promo last night.
exactly.
Jeez.
And just Kenny's being so heartfelt, saying like, "Look, we don't even know if we'll have a Dynamite next week, so all we can do is just give you the best match and best show that we can."
God, yeah.
Yeah,
So
like
good.
that's the thing. None of the promos in AEW feel overly scripted or rehearsed. Like I've never heard a promo in AEW that sounds like it was written by a committee, and that's the big difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Were there any other moments?
I mean, the end of Moxley versus Jericho, for one.
Oh my god, yes. And hell, even the build up to that, where Jericho literally sticks him in the eye with a freaking.
Yeah, but then sure, that's good to see all along. Like
So he was
that, and then just
yep.
Nyla winning the women's title was fucking amazing.
Yes, the first. Yeah. In case you've been living under a rock, Nyla is the first openly trans wrestler, like, ever,
To be signed
right?
to a major promotion. Yeah, first
Oh,
openly
signed with a
trans
major
wrestler
promotion.
to be signed to a
Okay.
major promotion, and first openly trans wrestler, I think, just to win a title anywhere.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah. And it's like legitimately good representation. Like
Right.
they don't try to
Yeah.
be like preachy about it. They don't try to use the fact that she's trans as a gimmick or make it her entire character. She just is a trans woman who also happens to be really fucking good at breaking people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's actually a good segue into, let's just talk about another thing that AEW does better than WWE, is that the sheer diversity of their roster. Like, not just racially, but
They do have room to grow. Like the majority
yeah.
of the roster is still white, and they have but the minorities that they have on the roster they've highlighted very well. I mean, you look at their range of champions, none of the women champions so far have been white. The vast majority of their women's roster is actually Japanese, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like mostly Joshi wrestlers. Like you look at their tag division, like Scorpio Sky was Black Man, one half of their first tag team champions.
The inaugural tag, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, of course, even going back to Nyla, even with being trans, she's also a Native American, isn't she?
Exactly. Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, God.
Yeah. I mean, how much Native American representation do you see these days?
Like
in a positive, non-stereotypical way.
Well, keep in mind, I live in Atlanta, so home of the Braves, so, like, nowhere.
I said non-stereotypical, so...
Exactly.
I also feel like that really doesn't count, because, I mean, at that point, you have to count the Redskins, which, I mean, nobody fucking counts the Redskins. Yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's cool. And then, I mean, like, if you want to just get into, like, talking about, like, the LGBT community and everything, like, he doesn't talk about it very often, but, I mean, Kenny Omega's bi, and he's probably, like, top 5 best wrestlers in the world right now.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, in the world right now, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And Sonny Kiss was in the audience last night.
Yeah, so Sonny Kiss, a gay man, doesn't dress like a stereotypical macho masculine wrestler, but he just, he's being himself and wrestling and getting over, and he's just so damn good in the ring. Yeah, and the other thing is, in none of like the matches or feuds that he's had so far, like nobody uses the fact that he's gay for heat. Nobody makes homophobic comments on him or anything, which like, I feel like WWE might have done that, especially like in the 90s, but like, and even you look at guys like MJF, probably the best heel in the business right now, he never like crosses the line with any of his promos.
Yeah, exactly. Like you hear talk about all the time about how he goes too far, like that one time where he flipped off that kid, but it's like he's still able to be booed without being bigoted.
Yeah, and the reason why I disagree that flipping off that kid was going too far is because here's the thing. If you're at a fan event and you wait in line for God knows how long to meet a wrestler, I want to meet the wrestler. I don't want to meet the guy who plays that wrestler. Like, if I wait in line for however long to meet MJF and I just meet a really nice guy, Max Friedman, from wherever he's from, that's disappointing. I want to meet MJF, which means I want to meet somebody who's going to talk shit to my face and make me feel horrible about myself. Like, if that kid's old enough to watch wrestling and, like, cognizant enough to want to meet MJF, he should know what he's signing up for.
Precisely.
Like, yeah. Like, imagine if you went to meet The Undertaker, but instead you just met Mark Calloway.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
There are many reasons I wouldn't want to meet Mark Calloway, but that's
yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Oh man. And honestly, that just begs the question now, like, they have all these diverse people on their roster, but then at the same time they bring someone like Hager on, which is like a very weird disconnect.
Yeah, for people who might not be aware, Hager has a history of, in the past, he has tweeted and liked several tweets that come across as very transphobic, which creates a very interesting conflict of interest when AEW is going out of their way to present themselves as being very diverse and welcoming, and they have Nyla Rose on their roster, And I'm not saying that like you should never hire anybody who, holds those kinds of beliefs, because I mean, it's just, I hate to say it, but we live in a world where there are a lot of bigots and it's hard to filter them out if you're trying to run any kind of business. That's a discussion for another time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, if that is, you're making that part of your brand, that it seems like a conflict of interest is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, so let's get into the specific superstars that we like now. Let's just take it one by one. So first off, starting with, you know what? Let's start with Kenny Omega. the least predictable choice.
Of course, yeah. No, I mean, I think his name has become synonymous with non-WWE wrestling in a way that AJ Styles was before he went to WWE. I mean, if you're going to talk about the best wrestler outside of WWE right now, and Kenny Omega doesn't come up in the conversation, that completely invalidates your argument. Like, I'm sorry, but like, It's Omega, Okada, Tanahashi, honestly, probably Jay White. I mean, who am I missing at that point? If you want to talk about the best wrestler outside of WWE right now.
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, he's just at that level. Like, sure, people argue with whether he's the best because everybody has someone who they think is the best. A lot of people would still argue it's probably AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan, but like, you can't argue that he's top 5 best wrestlers in the world right now.
Yeah, you can't argue that he's not top 5. Yeah.
And one thing and just to bring up the Young Bucks as well, again, probably one of the best tag teams in the world, but I think one thing they've done a good job of is so many people were so sure that AEW was going to go the route of WCW with just the wrestlers and management putting the belt on themselves and pushing themselves over everybody else, and they've completely avoided doing that.
Oh, yeah. I was really scared of just Cody just going on a full ego trip and just putting the belt on himself as the inaugural champion. And, because you've seen his entrance.
Right. But I mean, by his admission, his entrance is all ego. Like, and like, here's the thing. I had confidence, like, and I mean, look, we've all seen the side of Cody's neck. We know he's not always the best at making decisions, but I had faith that Cody, at the very least, wasn't stupid enough to put the belt on himself this soon. And, like, aside from that, with Kenny and the Young Bucks, I think people do eventually want to see them hold the belts at some point, but they've been smart about holding back on that, letting other people get the spotlight. Like, when Kenny eventually wins a belt, I don't think anybody is going to have an issue with it. But I just, especially more so because it'll be a while before it happens.
Right, exactly. They are very good about just organically building up to what the fans actually want.
Exactly. And if the fans want something that they hadn't been thinking about beforehand, they don't just completely dismiss it out of hand. Like fucking Orange Cassidy.
Oh my, Orange Cassidy. You mean the freaking walking millennial God, what do you even call it? He's the stand. He's a JoJo stand of a millennial.
You can't really describe him accurately in any way that does him justice. You just have to watch one of his matches to understand.
Mm-hmm. Precisely, because
yeah,
the walking personification of millennial ennui. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
And let's also, and in the same vein, let's just talk about the dismantling of toxic masculinity, known as the best friends. Yay.
Exactly.
Chucky and Trent. That's their names, right?
Yeah, Chucky T and Trent. Like, I think the best thing about AEW is they just have such a wide range of people. Like, you have guys who are like the stereotypical macho man wrestler, but you have so much more character variety. Like, there really is something for everybody. Yeah. Yeah, even in WWE, like, they have a relatively varied like characters here and there, but everybody else still kind of like boils down to the same fundamentals that WWE has been relying on since the 90s.
Precisely, yeah. Like, there's even a Japanese woman with a Freddie Mercury gimmick, which, of course, you know I love.
Oh, of course, yeah. Anything with Queen on it is immediately your favorite.
Jeez, call me out, why don't you?
I mean, you started it.
Fair. Where is Emi Sakura anyway?
I mean, that's the thing with AEW also, is that because they don't like tie down their talent, they're allowed to go wrestle for other indies. They're not, or other promotions. They're not always going to be on the show every single week. So like Emi Sakura has other and Rio, they have other commitments in Japan as well that they have to go back and forth with AEW as well.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
And besides, that's the thing. We still have SCU to fill my Freddie Mercury gimmicks.
Oh yeah, and besides, they still have like, you know, they have enough people on roster. They like rotate people through the spotlight. You know, nobody just hogs the spotlight constantly unless they're a champion.
Which makes sense because they're the champion.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, I don't think there's anybody in AEW who I would call over pushed, except maybe for Jake Hager, but he hasn't even really been pushed. He's just like there and annoying.
Yeah, he's just kind of been going along with the tide that's been carrying the inner circle this whole time.
Yeah. It's like you have like 4 of the best goddamn wrestlers in the company right now, and then Ascension Tall Glass of War Mayo in the background who's supposed to be menacing.
Oh my god, did you see how much he was sweating in that last match last night?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't surprising. Mayo spoils quickly when it's not refrigerated. Oh my! I can keep going for the next 30 minutes if you want. Like, I have so much Jake Hager's irritation bottled up. I will go all fucking night if you want me to.
Okay, well, let's not do that, but, you know.
Perhaps another time.
Yeah, another time. Oh, God, who else is there? We already mentioned Pac. We already mentioned Sean Spears.
I mean, let's talk about Lance Archer and fucking Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake, yeah, exactly. And we could also use that to talk about how AEW's been handling their legends better than WWE.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, like, I think the big thing that comes down to that everybody's been pointing out is AEW use their legends to prop up and build new stars. Like, Arn Anderson is managing Cody. Tully Blanchard's managing Sean Spears. Lance Archer's being managed by Jake the fucking Snake.
Yeah.
In WWE, those guys would show up and beat a newcomer and probably win a title.
Yep. And yeah, that's the whole thing that's the whole issue in a nutshell. Like, it doesn't really need any more clarification than that.
Yeah.
Like, my God, Jake the Snake probably has promo of the year with that Caesar promo that he did on the first night he came on.
Oh yeah, no. And even like initially people weren't entirely sure what they were saying, but they were fucking listening.
Exactly. Yeah. And then of course once we got over the Caesar references, we realized what month we were in. March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then it all fell into place.
Yeah.
Shout out to DDP too for looking as good as he does right now.
That's fucking DDP yoga, man. That shit works.
Dude, I honestly think it does. Like, like you see all these bland knockoffs of like goat yoga and all that other.
Oh yeah, no. But like, I mean, the thing with DDP yoga is like he specifically designed it for like wrestlers and other athletes to like combat all the fucking damage to their bodies, and like apparently it works because like,
yeah,
Scott Hall and Jake the Snake are still alive, so I guess it fucking works.
And it's even provided some benefits for survivors of car accidents too.
Oh yeah, like just in general for like, you know, it works obviously, and I mean, dude doesn't look 63 years old.
Yeah, he does not look old at all. And which,
yeah,
and that just kind of brings up says everything about wrestling, right? That wrestlers could get the same benefit as freaking car crash survivors. Tells you everything you need to know about wrestling right there.
Exactly.
God, man. Let's talk about more. Let's talk about more of the women. Especially my favorite alien, Chris Statlander.
Oh yeah, Chris Statlander I think has been like one of the best examples aside from Britt Baker of people knew who Britt Baker was. Chris Statlander taking somebody that like her and Nyla Rose, two people that most people didn't know about. Like they were, and then like they built them into huge stars and got over so quickly. And it's like, you know, the Statlander's gimmick is just so fucking out there in all senses of the word. But like people like her and she's good enough to like, you know, get that. That's the thing. Any gimmick can get over with the crowd if the person behind it is charismatic enough.
Yeah, or if the person is
whatever the hell Orange Cassidy is. Like, can you describe, is Orange Cassidy charismatic? I don't even fucking know.
That's a very good question. Yeah.
I mean, I guess he is, but like...
Yeah, because he gets a reaction and people like him and...
Orange Cassidy is a fucking enigma.
Yes. Enigma Cassidy.
They need to just take away Jeff Hardy's old nickname and start calling Orange Cassidy the charismatic enigma, because nobody knows what the fuck he is, but they cheer for him anyway.
Right. Yeah. Talk about someone who has a lot of potential ahead of her. Let's talk about Big Swole.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, she is killer on the mic.
Oh, my God.
Like,
and
eventually she's going to be women's champion and she's going to run the entire fucking division, for sure.
Yeah. She's what Bianca Belair should be.
You want to talk about charisma? She can turn any like promo into like a fucking roast battle and just annihilate the other person.
Yes. Oh, God, who else is there? I think what do you think of Brandy's role so far in AEW?
You know, I feel like she's still trying to find her footing within the company in terms of like what her role going forward is going to be. But like that's the thing, like we've been saying, growing pains. Like first she was going to be kind of like the heel authority figure, it seemed like, for the women's division, but I'm kind of glad they backed away from that. Then they had her kind of being like awesome calling manager with that Nightmare Collective thing that went nowhere.
Yeah, because that's what happens when you already have the Dark Order. It just gets repetitive.
I mean, I'm sure she's doing a lot of good work behind the scenes, but like they're just having trouble finding what her on-screen role going forward is going to be. And I think it's fine that they're like, you know, experimenting and trying to figure something out.
And willing to drop something when it's not working.
Exactly. Like, I'm glad they didn't just like dig their heels and saying, look, no, Nightmare Collective is going to be the thing and it's going to happen and y'all are going to deal with it. They said, okay, this isn't really getting a reaction. Let's just kind of back away from it. Yeah.
So let's see. And let's talk about my second favorite on the women's roster, live action anime character Hikaru Shida.
Oh, Hikaru Shida, no, she's my favorite on the women's roster. I'm sorry. There's like Rio and Nyla are great, but Hikaru Shida is my favorite for sure. She's fucking amazing at everything.
Yeah, because her everything from her entrance to her attire to when she goes to the ring to her, like, correct me if I'm wrong on this, lest I pull a JR. She comes off as kind of strong styles to me, doesn't she?
I mean, I think there are a lot of aspects of her moveset that are like her running knees are fucking strong style for sure.
Oh, they are deadly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like that bit she does where she pulls out the chair and then uses it as a running ramp for her flying knee. That's just amazing.
Yes.
Also, her entrance music is really fucking good for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
She has one of the best entrance themes in AEW right now.
Honestly, if it wasn't for the Magical Girls entrance music, I'd say she would have the best.
Oh, Yuka Sakazaki.
Yuka Sakazaki. I couldn't
Yeah.
pull her name out. Yeah.
Okay. Who just. Okay, she's amazing, if only for the fact that her existence is a reason we got Excalibur trying to explain the concept of a magical girl to JR on commentary.
Anime got referenced by name on TV in a wrestling match.
Started from the bottom, now we here.
Oh, started from the bottom.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just.
Go ahead.
Man. No, I think the thing with AEW is that's the thing. Like, we just in the same conversation went talking about like strong style knee strikes to anime. Like, they have such a wide variety of stuff to offer.
Jesus, you're right.
Yeah, I think like that's the thing. And the thing with AEW is like we've been said a few times. They've only been around for a year, and it's going to be so interesting. Like, there's so many directions they could go, and there's like so many things that fans want that they could give us.
Right. Like, there's still a combination. Like, although. Here's another thing. AEW has been good at balancing, just giving us different combinations of different superstars in different matches. But I'm mainly referring to the Pac Kenny feud here. Like, how many matches have they had so far? Like
three. Three singles matches, but they had a couple tag matches.
Three singles matches. Yeah, I'm focusing more on the singles matches, but they've had multiple singles matches, and each one of them has brought something new to the table. Table.
Like that fucking Iron Man match might be the best Iron Man match I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Man, they could have gone 60 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's my biggest issue with modern Iron Man matches is that they don't do the 60-minute ones anymore. Yeah. Like, just give us a fucking 60-minute Iron Man match, cowards. Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Do it. Just do it. Speaking of memes, let's talk about how good AEW has been at using social media to basically get everyone over.
Like, I think the best example of that is the fucking AEW like official Twitter account feuding with getting Twitter beef with MJF.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because they released that MJF sucks t-shirt, and MJF like called out the AEW Twitter page like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And they were just like, "You created demand for a product and we delivered. Good job."
Which is just brilliant. And then there's that freaking when Hangman Page did put out his social distancing personal statement.
Yeah, that was great. Like, I think the only major social media slip up they've had is when they did that pre-recorded episode on Jericho's cruise ship, which again, not a sentence that anybody thought would make any sense last year, but hey. Yeah, when they did that episode and they tweeted out the result of the tag team title match before the episode had even aired.
Yeah, that's a botch.
Yeah.
But hey, you're not going to be perfect.
Right. No, of course not. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to be better than NXT every week. Which, again, high standards.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although WWE is trying their darndest to make it easy for them.
Oh, Lord. You mean you don't like you don't like the fact that they completely killed Rusev Day?
You mean you don't like the fact that apparently Charlotte is going to be NXT champion for some goddamn reason?
Apparently Charlotte is what?
Oh yeah, no, Charlotte won the Women's Royal Rumble. She's challenging Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's title.
Okay, that I would actually give them a pass for, because again, they're basically playing catch up with how, because keep in mind, this is only like what, the third?
They're playing catch up, but I mean, the thing is they've essentially turned NXT into just another main roster brand. Like, it's lost a lot of what made it unique compared to Raw.
That is a great point, actually. Yeah.
Like, it no longer feels like WWE's indie. It just feels like another WWE show.
WWE Shippuden. This is what you came to listen for, folks. These are the jokes.
I think the biggest thing with the WWE versus AEW, I mentioned a little bit earlier, is that I've never felt like my intelligence is being insulted watching AEW. Yeah, there's never been a match outcome where I just think, well, that makes no fucking sense. I can't get behind that. I can't suspend my disbelief enough to enjoy that. Like, I mean, even Orange fucking Cassidy trying against Pac, like, got over with the crowd. Oh my god,
that was the second best match of the night.
It really was, which is saying something, because I was on the same card as the fucking tag team title match and Mox winning the title.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't say that lightly.
Nope.
you could tell how much fun Pac was having in that match because
Oh, for sure. There were multiple points where he was like legitimately trying not to corpse.
when they were doing that light toe touch against each other.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah, no.
going back a little bit now to like individual superstars, I can't believe we forgot Hangman Page.
Oh yeah, we need to go into more detail on just how much star power that guy has. Like talking about building young stars, like eventually there's going to come a day where the top feud in AEW is Hangman as a top babyface and MJF as the top heel fighting over the world title. That's going to happen.
Oh my god. And see, that's just a testament to how strong AEW's brand is so far, because that match, just the thought of that match or that feud happening is just, it's making my serotonin go into overload.
Yeah, it's because that's the thing. Hangman's just gotten so over both as himself and as a part of the elite.
Yeah.
Like he has this fucking like alcoholic cowboy shtick going on, which is amazing.
Yeah, which again, that was another thing that he just started doing, right?
Yeah, like the first few times he did it, it was very spontaneous, just grabbing like beers from someone on the ship and drinking it.
Yeah, and now he comes out into the ring with like a freaking Jack Daniels on the rocks.
Exactly.
And another thing, one thing that I want to point out about Hangman Page is that his body type, like he isn't like the typical like sculpted Mr. Universe style wrestler.
He doesn't look like Pac, but he's still in shape.
Yeah, he's got like he's got a mini beer gut, which makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing with AEW. They have a variety of like body types on the roster, but nobody's treated as less than because they don't look like somebody else.
Yeah, going back to that Riho versus Nyla match.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the announcers now. Good old JR.
Yeah, JR, who's just the crazy grandpa of pro wrestling.
Yeah, talk about hit or miss.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at the very least, he's not as bad as Jerry Lawler, which is a low fucking bar, but still.
But he still manages to clear it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but like, obviously he has his moments where he really gets into it. Like, it was like, basically when the acid dropped and he started enjoying the Orange Cassidy versus Pac match.
Yes. Oh my god.
That was insane. Yeah. But like then he has moments where, and I quote, he said of Emi Sakura's entrance, Freddie Mercury has never looked more oriental.
Which, to his credit, he apologized for that.
Yeah, but I mean also like, you know, it's just those little slip-ups here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Where, and like, then there was a moment where you missed this because you were there live, but like, he basically asked the other commentators, like, it was Excalibur, Brett Baker, and yeah, I think Tony was on the commentary that night, like, basically asked them to explain Chris Statlander's gimmick to him, like, trying to do that without breaking the fourth wall. Like, he was like, so, why don't you all explain to me this? I know it's not what JR sounds like. I'm limited in my range here.
I understand.
Why don't you all explain to me what this alternate galaxy that Chris Statlander purports to be a part of is? Essentially just trying really hard to ask them, yes, because always please fucking explain this gimmick to me, I don't get it. And then just the awkwardness of everybody else trying to explain Statlander's gimmick to him without breaking the fourth wall. It was just, like, really?
Yeah.
That's like the equivalent of, like, if in the 80s they'd be like, so why do y'all try to explain to me this purported dead man that the Undertaker purports to be? Like, he claims to be the undead, and everybody has to, like, not say that it's a gimmick.
But then he also has those excellent backstage interviews that he does.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like, if they just took him off commentary and had him just do the backstage interviews, that would be great use of him. Yeah. I mean, he has great calls right now, and then, like, the goddamn Dippin' Dots didn't hurt nobody.
God, I still wake up laughing because of the damn Dippin' Dots call.
Yeah.
Damn it, I'm
like, that needs to, like, come full circle at the Double or Nothing 2, where Jake Hager goes back to fuck with the Dippin' Dots, and JR just gets up for commentary to go tear him a new one.
Oh my god, that needs to happen.
Ultra Instinct JR killing Jake Hager over Dippin' Dots.
Oh my god, would that mean his hat would turn white or something? And his eyes Oh, well, speaking of having things explained to me, what was because Excalibur, he wears a luchador mask to when he's doing his commentary. Like, what is his background? Like, I legitimately don't know.
Oh, he used to be a wrestler.
I figured that. Where did he used to?
Yeah. He was one of the founding members of PWG.
PWG.
Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Like, you've probably seen clips, like, that's where, like, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, like, Kevin Steen made their, like, bones as wrestlers. Like,
Oh,
they don't wrestle there anymore because the old Reseda Wrestling Hall got torn down, but, like, it's the one where, like, you'd have the ring and just all the fans, like, crowding around it instead of, like, having seats.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
you've seen it. So he was a founding member of that, like, as a wrestler, and then he very quickly, like, switched to commentary. And, like, one thing you notice whenever someone does the Falcon Arrow, he yells, "They did the deal!" Because, like, when he was a wrestler, his finisher was the Falcon Arrow, so it's a running gag whenever he does commentary to get really excited when someone does the Falcon Arrow. And since no one uses it as a finisher anymore, whenever it gets kicked out of, he gets really outraged, like, "What? Nobody kicks out of the Falcon Arrow!"
I'll have to listen for that going forward.
Yeah, like, he did it during the women's Fatal 4-Way match last night.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like...
And that just leaves Tony Schiavone now.
Yeah, who, like, talk about a fucking comeback story in pro wrestling.
Yeesh.
Like, went from being the goddamn voice of WCW, having one of the worst calls in history, to just being, like, welcomed back into wrestling with open arms and being loved by the fandom.
What was the bad call he made again?
He was the guy who, in what happened during my Raw Wars, there was a bit where, like, they spoiled the outcome of Mick Foley winning the world title.
Oh.
Like, because the way it played out was, like, he's like, by the way, if you're planning on, because this was back when Raw was pre-taped, and he said, by the way, if you're considering changing the channel to Monday Night Raw, don't bother. We've got it on good authority that they're about to put their world title on Mick Foley. Ha, that'll put butts in seats. And everybody changed the fucking channel at that exact moment to watch Mick Foley win the world title.
Oh.
And WCW basically, that was one of the big moments where they lost a lot of ratings and never fully recovered from it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
He
was also frequently made fun of for opening every single episode of Nitro by announcing it as the greatest night in the history of our sport.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, he's gone from that to, like, coming back and being welcomed with open arms and doing great commentary and interviews now.
Uh-huh. And feuding. He's feuding with Britt Baker now. It's official.
Yeah, which, I mean, is just comedy gold every time.
Every time.
Yeah. It's such stupid, cheap heat, but it works for some reason. But I think that speaks to, like, how beloved the commentators are, that anybody messing with them is immediate, like, nuclear heat.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, keep in mind, Britt Baker basically turned heel by talking shit to Tony for no goddamn reason.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, seriously, what reason did she have for just coming after Tony like that?
Exactly.
And what does Starbucks have to do with anything?
It's like, I guess an easy way to insult someone is implying they used to work at Starbucks. I guess. I don't know, like, the whole keeping the dentist thing part of her gimmick is fucking amazing. Like, I'm waiting for her to knock someone's teeth out again.
Again. God,
Yeah.
Poor Sakazaki. And I can't believe we've gone this long without mentioning the best person on the roster.
Aubrey Edwards.
Aubrey fucking Edwards. The greatest referee ever.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike Chioda, who?
I mean, that's the thing with AEW. They at least give a lot of their wrestlers, a lot of their referees as much character as the wrestlers.
Yeah, like, what was that one thing she did? Oh my god.
Yeah, during one of the tag team matches, like, the Blade, I think it was, and MJF were, like, holding someone in the corner, and she did the 5 count. When she got the 5 count, she fucking kicked their hands away to break the hold.
Yeah, you do not fuck with Aubrey.
Yeah, and, like, the fans fucking love her so much, which is the best thing. Yeah, like, my only thing is I wish she just wasn't the only women referee on the roster, like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that part of that is that, they just need to work on, like, training more women's referees. Like, even WWE has a couple, but, like, that's something to look forward to in the future, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's just been, like, the regular theme for throughout this whole episode is just growing pains, but that just means they have room to grow.
Yeah, that's the thing. We like AEW, but we also like them because of the potential for what they could be in the future.
And that's proving that they're willing to make improvements.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, is anything else that we want to cover?
Speculation for the future, like things you want to see going forward.
Yeah, well, talking about the future, I think, is it next week or the week after is Blood and Guts?
I don't know. I'm bad with dates. I
I think
rely
it's
on you
next.
for these sort of things.
Yeah, but when that match happens, it's going to be absolutely fucking insane. I can't believe we're getting that on free TV.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me neither.
that's gonna be unbelievable. The eventuality of like all the people Mox is gonna defend the belt against, like he's gonna have a rematch with Jericho, but then also the potential for matches with guys like Pac or Darby Allin or Kenny, or and that's the thing. Like you could have challengers come out of nowhere, like freaking Scorpio Sky was Jericho's first challenger for the belt. Like,
Yeah, wait, who saw that coming?
yeah, and part of the excitement is not knowing what's next, like not being able to guess because who fucking knows what's gonna happen. I'm so excited to see where they go with Brody Lee being the Exalted One.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
might make the Dark Order 10 times more interesting.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
What do you think what do you hope to see from Matt Hardy?
Just as much of batshit craziness as they can let him get away with on network television.
Oh my god, can you imagine him interacting with Chris Statlander?
Him and Orange Cassidy or him and Chris Statlander would be insane.
Oh, it makes me happy.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There's so much potential. It's hard to even say that you want to see something happen because they're just going to pull something out of nowhere that's better than what you could have predicted.
Exactly, something you didn't even know you wanted.
Yeah. Like again, Brody Lee is the fucking Exalted One.
I yeah, I still can't believe it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll do it for this episode.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All right.
thanks everybody who's listening for joining in.
Yeah. Find us out there on SoundCloud. Have you heard anything from Stitcher yet?
Nothing. Nope.
Yeah, I think I might just resend him the show, and once we record this episode and another episode, I'll just resend him the show and see where it goes from there.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find us on SoundCloud, and yeah, hopefully, as much chances as we're giving AEW to grow, you stick with us and listen to us grow.
Hell yeah!
Yep.
All right. See ya.